Okay, you want to lose some weight, you want to lose body fat, you want to put some muscle on, you want to perform better. Nutrition is going to be a huge part of this goal that you have. So there is a lot of information out there on what is the best diet, what's the best type of nutrition for my particular goals, and I've broken it down to two categories. So you have a glycemic based approach and you have a metabolic based approach. So the glycemic based approach essentially is predicated on balancing blood sugar. The metabolic based approach is essentially predicated on speeding your metabolism up. So, or another way put, how many calories you burn in a given day, or even specifically basal metabolic rate, how many calories you burn during rest during a given day. So which one's best? Well, they both can work, but they both can have their complications as well, just like anything. So there's not one particular cookie cutter approach to nutrition that's going to work for anybody. But hopefully this sheds some light on some of the questions you might have regarding some nutritional stuff. So glycemic based approach, you've probably heard about a ketogenic diet, a paleo diet, an Atkins diet. Intermittent fasting is kind of woven into all that stuff. And it all can work, you know, and what I always like to look at is, all right, first of all, what are your goals? So I've had people that all those ways of eating work for really well. I've had some that don't work for really well. So what is that diet? What might that diet look like? Well, compared to a metabolic based approach, the biggest difference as far as the food that we're eating is a glycemic based approach is definitely going to typically have a lower carbohydrate content and a higher dietary fat content. Metabolic based approach, you're going to have a higher carbohydrate content in your daily calories. You're going to have a much lower dietary fat content. With both approaches, your protein is typically going to be around the same. And that might be between about 25 to 30% of your overall calories. So those are kind of the big differences as far as the calories that you're getting. And then the other big one's going to be how many times you're eating throughout the day. So if you're following a metabolic based approach, because you're trying to speed your basal metabolism up, you're going to want to eat, frequently, maybe even about 3 hours every 3 hours, small meals every 3 hours. So what you're essentially trying to do is speed your metabolism up by training your body to crave food and burn the food off every couple hours. Glycemic based approach is actually not predicated on metabolism at all. It's actually more predicated on what types of calories you're using. So now if you go full-blown ketogenic, essentially the goal of a ketogenic diet is getting your carbohydrates low enough and your fat high enough to where you're burning something called ketones. So our body can use ketones for energy. Our body can use glucose for energy. Glucose is something we get from eating carbohydrates. Ketones is something we get that when we restrict our carbohydrates to a certain point, for most people that might be around 50 grams of carbohydrates a day, but also our dietary fat being between 70, 80, sometimes 90% of our overall calories a day. So what I'm saying is both approaches can work and both have their most difficult parts. So metabolic based approach, the most difficult thing for people is actually getting the meals in. That might be upwards of 5 or 6, or even if you're a competitive athlete or bodybuilder, that might be in every 3 hours, even at night, you're setting an alarm. So now if you're a really busy person, family, kids, businesses, you're a CEO, even a busy mom, that might be difficult for you to do on a regular basis or a long-term basis. Now, a glycemic based approach for those type of individuals might be a better option, So, let's say you're doing some kind of a paleo. Another word for paleo is just eat real food. So eat non-processed food. And Atkins is more of a systematic way to do it. It's not necessarily focused on quality as opposed to just getting into ketosis. And intermittent fasting essentially there's a lot of different things about intermittent fasting, but the goal of it is essentially to eat a couple times a day and still get the benefits of blood sugar and fat burning. If you're trying to build a whole lot of muscle, the glycemic based approach isn't going to be the best approach because the relationship between certain types of carbohydrates and protein help you build muscle, and the frequency actually with the metabolic based approach is going to allow you to put more muscle on for sure, hands down. So, but a glycemic based approach, yes, you can still put muscle on, not nearly as much as you can with a metabolic based approach. So again, the takeaways are glycemic based approach, the benefits, maybe even eating a couple meals a day. Some people even eat one meal a day, with those crazy intermittent fasting folks out there. And I've done that before, and it takes a minute, and unless you've been doing that for a while, unless you've only been eating one meal a day for a while, which some people do, it's going to be a hard adjustment for you. Some of the benefits of a glycemic based approach, you typically can burn body fat a little bit faster. Your body doesn't hold on to water as much because of the lack of carbohydrates. And as far as the metabolic based approach, you can put muscle on better, faster. And if you like to eat a lot of food, the metabolic based approach might be better for you, especially if it fits into your daily routine. So hope that sheds some light on some nutrition approaches. Are there other approaches, vegan, vegetarian, plant-based, Mediterranean, that's another one. So there's all these different approaches. South Beach is another one. But these are basically the two main approaches that kind of branch off in all these other approaches. So it's either an approach that's more geared on burning fat or maximizing the amount of body fat that we use, and eating it not as much, that might fit into your lifestyle a little bit better, as opposed to a metabolic based approach where it's the benefits, it's essentially higher carbs, lower dietary fat, and obviously the muscle building part of that. And then also if you're an athlete that's trying to perform better, especially if you're a power athlete, baseball, football, basketball, those types of sports, a metabolic based approach is going to probably be something I would lean more towards for a lot of reasons. But even with that, so we're trying to get the right amount. So a lot of people just talk about calories. Yes, you can lose weight just with a calorie deficit. But with these approaches, you're just going one step further. You're trying to get a carb and or a fat deficit as far as these approaches go. So anyway, if you have any questions, hit me up.